Hey YouTube, this is Firewizard23. I would like to do a short critique of the Arthur episode, Mr. Ratburn and the Special Someone. Full disclaimer, I am a gay man. I have been out since the age of 19. I am gay. I just want to make that clear before I begin. I am also reading from a carefully written script to make my points clear. Also, you may want to go watch the episode Mr. Ratburn and the Special Someone before you listen to this critique. It will give you context. I'll pause here, give you a moment. Okay, everyone back? Alright, let's talk about the episode. Okay. Well, here's my purpose. My main problem with this episode is at the very end of it. When it is revealed that Mr. Ratburn has married a man, this has outed him as gay to his class. The children have nothing but a positive reaction in the form of smiles to this news. There is no discussion regarding that reveal by anyone in this episode. While I am happy to have representation in the media, how that representation is portrayed is just as important, and it requires a level of realism. So why is it a problem? The kids' TV show Arthur has dealt with very heavy topics. These topics have been discussed during the episodes. Effects on the characters have been discussed, and the dialogue was mimicking actual dialogue that kids and adults would have in those scenarios. A couple of examples. When Miss McGrady, the lunch lady, came down with cancer in The Great McGrady, the children see her leave the lunchroom and stay at home. They see the physical effect it has on her. They discuss how they feel about it and what they want to do to help her. In the episode April 9th, the episode shows the school catching on fire. This episode is a 9/11 allegory. Arthur nearly loses his father. Binky sees the fire and is traumatized. Sue Ellen's precious diary with her memories is destroyed. Buster misses the whole thing. All of these characters go through an arc and learn and grow in the episode. They learn to deal with the tragedy. In the episode Grandpa Dave's Memory Album, we see Arthur's grandfather showing signs of Alzheimer's. Arthur has to deal with the fact that his grandpa is losing his memory, and he talks about how that affects him with his friends and family. In the holiday special, Arthur's Perfect Christmas, they dealt with anti-Semitism. Muffy tells her friend Francine, who cares about dumb old Hanukkah, and that there's no holiday more important than Christmas. We see this cause a rift in their friendship, and they are forced to talk about it, and Muffy learns to understand why her viewpoint was callous to her friend. All of these episodes dealt with very heavy and socially relevant topics. And then they made Mr. Ratburn and the Special Someone. I cannot believe that no one, child or otherwise, doesn't even have questions for Mr. Ratburn. No child wonders why he is marrying a man as opposed to a woman. No adult character is shocked or at least surprised by this revelation. This scenario is presented as if diverse sexuality has been completely normalized in the city. I call bullshit. This is not real. This scenario, as it was presented in this episode, would not happen in the real world. Now stop. I know what a lot of you are thinking. But Firewizard23, the gays have come so far, and the world is so much more open than to you all now. Don't you want to be normalized? Don't you want it to be normalized? The answer is yes. I would love it to be normalized. I would love open acceptance. I would love to have a community not judge me for who I am. It's just not where we are. I speak from experience past and present. Trust me on this. Do a Google search. You'll know what I'm talking about. To the point of this episode, though, the final scene betrays even simple questions that children would have. Again, the aforementioned, why is Mr. Ratburn marrying a man? Is he gay? What does that mean? This episode has nothing to say to its child audience regarding what they are seeing. Children are just getting those images tossed at them without any point of reference or reliability. I don't know how many parents are able, or frankly want to, have discussions with their young children regarding what they just saw. And that's pretty much my position. This episode of a children's program just put a gay character on screen in a very big, splashy way and had nothing to say about it. It presented a fantasy situation that simply would never happen in the real world, as none of the child characters, or frankly any of the adult characters, have anything to say about it. Now, you must be thinking, okay, what would you have done about it, smart guy? I confess, I don't want an episode with hate speech or that shows off the darker aspects of bigotry. I honestly don't. But this reveal and this topic, i.e. having an openly gay character in a children's program, you have to discuss it if you're going to go there. So, here is my idea. I first want to say right out, I am not a master writer. I have written 2 novels, but I have never covered anything close to this kind of social psychology. I feel a proper team of writers, properly trained, with perhaps some social psychologists, especially those of child psychology, could do this justice. First, do the episode basically as you did it. In the very beginning of the episode, we saw Mr. Ratburn look apprehensive to reveal to his class that he was getting married, because it involved the fact discussing that he was marrying a man. They actually do a really good job with his look of trepidation in that reveal. His sexuality having never been discussed with his students. What I would change is the final scene, as that is the only other scene of relevance to the topic at hand. When we have the reveal of Mr. Ratburn and his partner Patrick, I want to show the reaction to the kids, specifically Buster Baxter. I want to show Buster looking worried, concerned about something, and then I want him to silently walk away from the scene. Arthur calls after his friend, "Hey Buster, where are you going?" His mother Bitsy runs after him. "Buster, Buster!" We show Mr. Ratburn with a look of concern on his face. Maybe we have a couple more of the wedding scenes, and then we end the episode. We go to the second episode in the show. The original second episode that was paired with this one has no relation to the first, which I thought was missed potential, so we're going to rectify that here. But we call this second episode Buster's Dad. For the uninitiated, Buster's parents are divorced. Bitsy raises Buster in Elwood City, and I believe Bo travels for work. I don't honestly recall if that has been explained, but it's neither here nor there. We see Bo sometimes, particularly in the offshoot show Postcards from Buster. So here's the idea. In the second part, Buster is seen absent from school for a few days. During these days, Arthur is unable to contact him, and Bitsy tells him that Buster just needs some time alone. We see most of the main cast talking amongst themselves about the reveal of Mr. Ratburn. Maybe we see them talking with their parents and such, and we see how the parents feel about such things. I confess, again, I'm not a writer for this. I think the dialogue would have to be very careful not to be offensive. Again, I would want to avoid hate speech. But maybe we see a couple walk past Mr. Ratburn and Patrick on the street, and they give them a dirty look. For lack of a better term, it's just there. I feel you could put that in a children's program, and it's real. We could have Binky Barnes, the bully character, sit down with his mom and ask, "What does gay mean?" And we've previously established she's a nurse, and she could have a thoughtful discussion about it. But back to Buster, because that's the big part of this that I think could be groundbreaking. I mean, we're talking Emmy award-winning television, not the accolades of all the gay outlets that we see online. I mean, literally Emmy award-winning children's television. We finally see Buster back at school talking with Mr. Haney, the principal, inside his office, doors closed. We hear some of the conversation. "But Mr. Ratburn has been your teacher for over a year now," we hear Mr. Haney say. Again, indicating that there's some kind of problem here. Arthur confronts him about what's going on. He says he just wants a new teacher. Arthur protests that Mr. Ratburn is just the same as he's always been. He's just married to Patrick now, and that's when Buster loses it. I'm going to try to do Buster's voice here. "Yeah? Well, it's all well and good for him. What about me?" And he storms off. Arthur left very confused. Mr. Ratburn steps out of his class, hearing the yelling, asking Arthur what's wrong. Arthur tells Mr. Ratburn what happened. He tells Arthur that he thinks he may know someone who can help. Arthur leaves. Mr. Ratburn pulls out his phone, dials, and speaks. "Bo, it's Nigel. We need to talk about Buster." We see Buster at home on his bed. Bo comes to the house, knocking on the door, and Bitsy answers. "Oh, hey, Bo, thanks for coming. I told him you'd be coming. He's upstairs." Bo goes up. "Hey, Buster, what's up, sport?" Buster turns away from Bo while lying on his bed. "Hey, I heard about Mr. Ratburn getting married." And he's all smiles about it. Buster does not respond. Bo pauses. "I also heard you left the wedding ceremony. I want you to tell me why," he asks him. Buster turns back to his dad. We see that he's crying. "Dad, why did you leave Mom? Why did you leave me?" Bo takes a deep breath, helps Buster to sit up, and says, "I realized that I loved Kyle more than I loved your mom," he says simply. He pulls out a cell phone and shows a picture of him on a beach with another man, both of them smiling. "That does not change how I feel about you, though." Buster looks up at his dad, and he gives him a hug. End the scene right there. See? In that one exchange, we address a very serious, real issue that does happen in some families, and it's relatable. Some people, after getting married into heterosexual marriages, realize into it that they are gay and end the relationship. And you know what? There are social consequences to those actions. There are ripple effects. We can use the character of Buster in this case to actually address that. This makes it real and relatable. Buster does not become a villain. He isn't evil. He is not a bigot. He's just trying to deal with this. Mr. Ratburn getting married to a man brought up these sour feelings towards his father, and they talk about it. It's not deep, but it touches it. I don't know if it resolves it, but talking about things is certainly a good first step. Well, that about wraps up my thoughts on Mr. Ratburn and the Special Someone. Thank you for listening. I hope this has given you pause to think about not only having representation, but how that representation is portrayed. This is Firewizard23. Take care and bye-bye for now, everybody.